All right. This is going to be an instructional video of how to get Plattera, get it installed, get it all set up, and how to use it. So I'll be adding timestamps for the various points of relevance that you might want to jump to. So like download, install, get your API key, how to use each of the workspaces. And so yeah, you can just jump to if there's a specific spot that you are curious about. But let's just start running through how to get Plattera and then get it installed and how to use it and everything. So uh, first off, you want to start out by coming to plattera.net, and on the landing page, you can follow Get Plattera or the download link, and you just want to download for Windows. It's only built for Windows 10 or up, so Windows 10 or 11 work fine for this. So if you download it, the download will start. It's roughly 200 megabytes, like 204 or something, I think, on the last build. And okay, our download is done. I just want to like make sure it's completely done. Okay, so run the installer. You'll get this blue window just at first. Eventually, this will go away and it'll just be the classic installer experience. But just with this being new software, and I don't have the app like registered with Windows, and um, it's not recognized by Microsoft. They have a protection flag that will warn you to be careful. So to get past this, you just have to hit the more info and then run anyway. And then the installer comes up next. And then you can just choose a new location if you want it somewhere else, but just the default will be an app data local and then the Plattera folder. While that's going, let's go back to the website, and on the resources tab, you can there's resources for a bunch of different aspects of the application that you might want information on. And so download and install has a tab just if you wanted to, you know, just have something you could read to quickly reference what to do. And I have it all laid out what you need to click on and everything. And so let's go back to the installer. It's finished, and I'm going to make a desktop shortcut. I guess you can decide on that if you want that or not, and I'll run it. So I'll show the desktop shortcut is right here. This is what to look for. This is the application. And if we open it up, the backend takes a few seconds to get going. And so we have this banner at the top that kind of lets you know when it's ready to go, but you can still go into the various workspaces while that's happening until the backend. Like you can do things, but just certain features that require the backend just won't be live yet. But so I'll give a rundown of the very first screen that you'll see is just the Plattera home screen, where you have three different main cards for the three different main workspaces. Down at the bottom left, you'll see the version is currently at version 0.9.5, and then there's this logs buttons. You don't likely have to worry about it. It's more just kind of available for if there's any debugging needs that need to happen in the kind of like first kind of rollout phase of the application being out there. Just a quick, easy way to access logs. But yeah, so let's get into how to start using the application. So first you're going to need an API key to really utilize the application, there'll be very little use that you can do without the API key setup. So let's go back to the website, and under API key setup, I have a walkthrough of how to do it if you need, but I'll walk you through it right here. So you need to, the app is set up with OpenAI's API, so you need an OpenAI API key, and you can follow the link here or just Google OpenAI API platform. They have like a dedicated website page just for API sign in. And so on this page, you want to go to login, API platform, and I'm already signed in. If you don't already have an account, you'll have to make an account. And then you can go down to, on this left bar over here, find or I'm sorry, you'll go to your account profile and then your profile, and then billing. You have to make sure that you have credits. Right now I'm running a little bit low, but I mean, they'll last a while. Depends how heavy you're using it. You can set it up to just like auto recharge, so you don't have to like fill up your credits every time. Or you can just add in like say $10-$20 when it runs out, then you can come back refill it. $10 or $20 will last a decent amount of time. Using Plattera, you'll easily be able to get maybe conservatively 150 transcriptions and schema generations on like $10. It's hard to go through. It won't be a very regular thing, but regardless, to use the application, you have to have an API key in order to use the AI features. So once you've loaded credits, so yeah, you just add credit to balance. You have to connect your credit card or however you want to set up a payment method. It will be up to you. But after that, then you on this left side panel, you find API keys. You can also set up a new project if you want. If you and you can like name it Plattera if you want to keep your keys organized, and you want to keep your keys private to you. And I have it built into the app that it stores your API key on Windows keyring, so it'll stay secure, just local on your own machine. But when you're ready to make your own API key, you will click this button up at the top right, create new secret key. You can name it and then associate it to a project. I'll do my test key like they were recommending. Just name it maybe my Plattera key. Maybe we can just name it that actually. My Plattera key. Generate, create secret key. Oh, I've actually used that same name, but it was a different capitalization, and it won't mess with it. It is the name doesn't matter, just the key itself matters. But you'll copy this. If you really want, you could save it in a secure way other than the key ring solely if you want access to it, but it's really not a big deal. If you do ever have to generate a new one, you can delete an API key, create a new one, put the new one in. So I would recommend just purely just copying it. Go back to the application, click this bottom at the bottom, set up API key, and you just paste it in. I already have my key set up, so I'm hitting cancel for now, but you would just hit save and your API key will save. So after you get your API key set up, then the first logical entry point into using Plattera is the image to text workspace. And I'll go through each one. Just like broad strokes, just run down for each. image to text is where you convert a handwritten deed to transcribed text. So yeah, so this is where you have the image and you just want to turn it into the text. Once you have the text, you need to turn it into a schema that our backend program can read and do the georeferencing logic on and produce the map of the plot that you, or the description of the deed that you transcribed. And so once you already have the text, or you have text separately that you want to convert to a schema, then you'll go into text to schema workspace. And then the mapping workspace is for once you've already produced schemas and you want to interact with them on a map and see the actual plotted property or plot live on a map. So let's start with image to text. So I already have some data in my Plattera folder. And so my middle panel here, which is called the dossier manager, already has some entries in it. Yours will be blank on the first run, but I'll just give a rundown as to what this workspace's main components are. And again, on the Plattera website, in the resources tab, there's a resource walkthrough for every workspace. So image to text, text to schema, and map workspace, as well as some other the when you need to get the PLS data, a download resource also. But so the three main components are the control panel, the dossier manager, and then over here on the right is where the results will be shown when you have transcribed deeds. And this dossier manager is basically just kind of your file management inventory of everything that you've generated, and you can delete and rename and yeah, just do kind of the more logistical stuff in this. But I'll collapse it for now, and I'll show you. Let's walk through generating a new transcription. So I already have some files in my download file. You just click the select files that you want to upload. You can do batch, or you can do just single files at a time. And so right now I'll just do a single one. I have one down here in my, somewhere in my okay, I believe this is the correct file. And so once you have your file uploaded, it'll show the file name in this box right here. You can delete it if you chose the wrong file. But then AI model selector, I recommend O4 Mini. You can choose other ones, but O4 Mini is by far the best at transcription, and the app is more set up to accommodate O4 Mini's outputs. I would recommend not changing that. Honestly, in a future update, I will probably just get rid of the other options just because they perform not as good. So why choose one that is the least performing? There is a reason why you would, just because O4 Mini is a more costly model. And so if cost was a concern and you feel that the transcription is going to be fairly easy, that other models can handle it, then that is a time when you actually would want to change it. But either way, you'll get the best performance from O4 Mini. So just leave it on the recommended is what I would say. If you want to add a custom instruction to your transcription, you can add in something like, say there's some specific nuance about the image that you are inputting, like maybe you want only the highlighted section or something like that. You can say those instructions, and that gets attached to the prompt that gets sent out to the AI or the LLM model that does the transcription. And so you can kind of add on little details that you want noted during the transcription. But I'm just going to leave it blank for now. The extraction mode, this legal document JSON, is optimized for doing legal deed transcriptions, but the application can also just do general um, OCR transcription. Also, if you just have any random document that you just want to get transcribed, then you can select the generic document JSON option, and it's more generic in the prompting that it'll let you will get a better outcome um, for just a random document that's not necessarily a legal description document. But for the purpose of legal descriptions, I recommend highly leaving it on legal document JSON because it is just optimized for that. Auto create new dossier. So again, this is the dossier manager. If you have it set to auto create new dossier option, it will create another one of these entries every time that you run a transcription process. The reason why you would not select that is if your transcription is, or your deed that you're trying to transcribe is multiple pages, or you're trying to associate them in some way. I think I have one in here that I can show as an example. So this one, curve deed part 1, and I can't see the full name, but this one I have segment 1 and segment 2, is because it had the deed was split between 2 pages. You can only do a transcription 1 page at a time. I tried testing it with being able to do multiple pages at once, and the output is just less quality. So just to maximize output, I've made it so you can only do 1 at a time. I am intending to eventually address that. There are ways that I can make it more accommodative to arbitrary size documents, but just the token cost limit just escalates very quickly. And so yeah, right now, as the program currently is in version 0.9.5, you can only do 1 page at a time. And so to associate multiple pages to the same deed or dossier, that's when you would choose a different option here, so that you would get a segment 1, say that would be like page 1, and segment 2, page 2, and you can keep adding on arbitrarily. So you can go to page N if you want, or segment N, and then within every segment, you can add multiple runs, and then within each run you can have different redundancy counts that I'll get into in just a second. But if you did want to add this as a new segment to an already existing dossier, you would select the dossier that you want in here. And it highlights it in the dossier manager for you, so you know which one you're selecting. You would select that, whichever one you wanted, add as new segment, or add as a new run to a segment. But we're just going to leave it as auto create new dossier. Then image enhancement, you can take a look and preview your image, and you can adjust various image controls, so contrast, sharpness, and you can like self-assess how easy the text is to read. And in general, if you find it extremely hard to read, or the clearer it is to you, also the clearer it will be for the LLM. But I have just a default setting that I think performs pretty well. You can mess with the various settings and create a preset if you like, but default I think is a pretty all encompassing performing set of settings. So I'm leaving it as the default for now. I'm just going to cancel out. The next option in our control panel is filtering for redundancy. And so this is where the runs come into play. Let me find which one. This one, I believe, has. So this right-of-way deed dossier has segment 1, run 1, and then draft 1, 2, and 3 within it, and then these other side drafts that I will get into later, but this is what redundancy is controlling for. How many times in parallel you're transcribing the document. So if I have redundancy 3 selected, the request gets sent out 3 times to the LLM to create a transcription for that image. And if I set it to 4, I'll get 4 drafts. And the reason why you would want to do that is for a couple of reasons. So by default, it's 3, and I think 3 performs pretty well, but you can play with it and find what you prefer. So the first reason why you would want redundancy is if you enable LLM consensus, because you just get or you get parallel attempts at the transcription, and over multiple redundancy runs or transcriptions, you hope that if the LLM maybe made a mistake at one spot in one of the transcriptions and one of the drafts, it didn't make the same mistake in another one, and over enough redundancy, the mistakes kind of get corrected by the other drafts having that same spot, not with the same inaccuracy. And so what LLM consensus will do is after all the 3 drafts or whatever your redundancy count are produced, we send all 3 of those off to an LLM again, and in this case, GPT-5, and the new models just keep coming out so fast that now this is even outdated a little bit, and so I should actually get that upgraded to the current would be GPT 5.2, but GPT 5 is more than capable of doing this consensus, and actually it's cheaper than GPT 5.2 as I understand it, so it might actually be an advantage in just keeping it as GPT 5. Either way, we will send however many redundancy runs that you did or drafts that you created to the LLM to look over all of them and send back a draft of what it considers as the consensus of all 3 or all n that you produced. Also, if you have LLM consensus enabled, when we add the entry to the dossier manager, it will auto receive a title. Otherwise, it defaults to just the file name. But in this case, right away deed was titled by having LLM consensus on, and you can see that it was an LLM consensus run because it has the consensus item in the draft. So you can see all the original transcripts and the LLM consensus within the dossier manager, and you can view it directly and see what the LLM believed was the consensus of all of the drafts. And this is just like a quicker way of kind of weeding through some of the editing process and having the AI attempt to figure out what likely the reality of how the document is supposed to read. And once you have everything set up how you want it, all the settings selected, then you just hit process file, and we will see that we get our new entry in the dossier manager. Let me close some of this. And so you can see it's processing. It'll take it's not always a set time. It will depend on the length of the deed that you're trying to transcribe. Sometimes just the volume of that OpenAI is processing in that moment. They don't have the same amount of like inference compute allocation at all times. Sometimes there's peak times, sometimes there's less times. So you might, just depending on like the time of day that you send it off, it might come back a little bit snappier or a little bit longer. And the only way to really get around that is having an LLM local on your machine, which is a potential possibility that I'll build in the future. But in the meantime, we're just using API via OpenAI, and so we're just at the whim of their kind of inference capabilities. So we just have to basically wait We can actually look at the logs. This is unlikely to be a typical user flow, but the logs will report us when the runs come through. If we can get to the backend tab, these buttons are conflicting with it a little bit. I'll have to fix that in a future update. But we have actually already sent it off to LLM consensus. It's not going too bad, so we should be able to view these ones already. And so yeah, these are the 3 drafts that we just produced. And we're just now waiting on LLM consensus, so we can read through it. If we find any inaccuracies, we can edit them. I've gone through this exact deed a lot of times, so I know by memory a lot of the details that I need to look for that were inaccuracies in the deed or common transcription errors that are made. But let's wait for the consensus to come through and see if so since I know this deed, the LLM consensus is looking pretty good already. There is one error that is just implicit in the actual deed itself. It wasn't a transcription error, it was just an error stated in how the deed was handwritten. It was a human error in drafting the deed, which we will fix in a second. I just want to show that you can also pull back up the original image by clicking on the thumbnail in the dossier manager if you wanted to kind of do like a side-by-side comparison and kind of look back at what the original said and compare it to a transcription to just verify everything looked right. And it's made pretty easy just to get that side-by-side comparison. So the one thing I do need to edit in this one is down here, range 74 is actually supposed to be range 75. And so I'll save it. And now after I've saved it, you can see we have a modification to this item in the dossier manager. We have now a v2 pill. And if we want to go view the original v1 again, we can see it still says 74. Click on the version 2 and it says 75. And so yeah, that just makes it easy to go back and forth checking between the original and any edits that you've made, if maybe you made a mistake or something like that in an edit. Makes it easy to just go back and forth. And so once we have our deed that we are pretty happy with and we think it's a final draft, we can select it as our final. So I'll select the LLM consensus as the final draft, even though I thought all of these looked fairly decent. It didn't matter that much, but it's a little bit safer just to go with the LLM consensus, just if there was maybe some subtle errors I didn't pick up on, there's a higher chance the LLM consensus is correct, just if at least 2 of these kind of had the right thing in common, that the LLM would have kind of favored the 2 drafts that were agreeing on whatever detail was in contention. If you do have multiple sections like this or segments, you need to finalize a draft in each segment first. And then when you finalize your dossier, then it just takes the finalized draft in each segment as the contender, basically, that it'll stitch together to be the if you view the actual dossier, it just stitches together both segments together in this view. Let's go back to the one that we were just doing, and I'm going to finalize this dossier. I think this dossier is ready to go. So once you finalize it, you get the gold border, just makes it easier to tell that one is finalized and ready for the next step. And so yeah, that is the rundown on the image to text workspace Next, I'll go into the text to schema workspace. So to navigate to text to schema workspace, there are two ways. There is a button up here in the top right corner when you're in the image to text workspace, just to jump over to that workspace quickly. And same in this one, you can go back to image to text by clicking that same button, and you can navigate back and forth quickly that way. The other entry is just from the home screen and clicking the middle card, the text to schema workspace. So once you're in the text to schema workspace, this is where you take that final draft transcription legal deed that you have, and you produce the schema that the computer will read to do the mapping and georeference calculations, etc. So if you're in this tab, Finalize Dossier, in this dropdown, you can pick all the dossiers you have finalized. Right now, I have both the same one basically finalized, but this was the most recent one that we literally just did. And so I'm sorry. Well, there's a bug I'm just noticing I'll have to get fixed. The timestamp is obviously set to some other time zone. So, but this is the most recent because that's today. So I guess the time itself is unreliable in this version. I'll have to make a note to get that fixed in a future update, but it won't change the performance. So if you select right-of-way deed or whichever one that you finalized, you get a preview in the results viewer. You can also bring up a schema manager, which is very similar to the dossier manager, except it's just the schemas that you've produced instead of the transcriptions. And so these other tabs are not accessible until you actually have a schema produced. Then again, in the control panel, you have less settings in this workspace. You can choose a model, but I just recommend leaving it on GPT 4.0. I should add a recommended flag to it just so the user knows that this is the recommended one. But yeah, GPT 4.0, just from my experience, outcompetes or just produces superior output than the other models. So I just recommend keeping on this one. It'll just be more reliable. And so then you just click convert the schema. And this step is usually not too long, but again, you're at the whim of OpenAI is just kind of, yeah, so there you go. It was pretty quick, but you kind of it just depends how the tides are in that moment, but it'll be rare that it'll be very long. So before we go into the actual schema stuff, I just want to also show that you can select this direct text input. And if you already have your transcription, like just in your own documents or something like that, and you just want to paste it in, and you can skip the image to text workspace altogether and just go right to converting the schema by just pasting it into this box and then doing the same. You just click convert to schema. And so that's the other way of inputting text to create a schema. But let's look at the schema that we produced. The default window that comes up is just this field view, which is just a slightly nicer UI to look at of this tab. It's the same contents, but this is just the actual JSON schema that the LLM gave us back. And so this just took our deed and created all these different fields that we need to identify in order to map the plot. And so you can again like kind of look through, see if there's anything that you want to change, but it should be pretty reliable. If you do want to end up editing anything, if there is an error, sometimes there could be, you click the edit button, make your edit, and then I'll just make that a capital W. I don't think that will throw anything off. But then I'll just hit save v2, and then in the schema manager you get the same kind of a versioning pill thing, and you can see v2 or v1, and it will tell you in the field view or JSON tab which version you are currently viewing. And so yeah, if you're in this tab, you can click Edit in JSON. It'll bring you over to the JSON, and then you can make your edit. But this just contains all the exact same information, but it just is kind of laid out slightly easier to read. So once our schema is produced, we want to actually create the map and view our plot mapped. And so there's multiple ways of accessing the map workspace, but the quickest while in this workspace is just to click this draw button. Eventually I will get it set up to also have a map button next to it. Just haven't gotten to that yet. But right now it's just through the draw button, which then switches to view after you've already clicked it. But it just brings you to this little preview of what your polygon looks like based on the schema produced. And you can verify various attributes about it, see if anything looks off just on the first glance. But once you want to map it, you just select the map tab. Your maps will require having PLSS data, and that doesn't come with the app download itself, and we have to download it separately. And so you just click the download button, and the download starts. And you basically just have to wait until it's done. It can take a little while, and I'll skip ahead until it's done because it's probably going to be depending on your internet access or a speed, it'll be probably like a 15-minute process, 15 to 20 minutes, because the whole thing isn't purely downloading. The download can go fairly fast if you have fast internet, but after the download is finished, there's an unavoidable step of just having to build what is called a parquet, which is just a way of indexing the data to make it faster to query, so that when you do want to map and do various PLSS grid overlays, it doesn't take insanely long to pull the exact feature out of the data that you are trying to utilize. It's just a way of making it faster, and the parqueting step can be kind of slow. And so you just have to, at this point, just basically wait like 20 minutes until it's done. You can click out of it and go use the application, other uses of the application while it's going, and you will still have this banner at the bottom where you can monitor progress of the download, or you can stop it if you need. If you do stop it, and the next time you go and try to access the mapping service, you will have to start from the beginning with the download, assuming you don't have the PLSS data. Or you can bring up the modal again and watch the. So we're already I have pretty decent internet right now, so the download's already done, and we're into the building the parquet phase. And as you can see here, the quarter sections take the longest, and we have to go to 1.4 million quarter sections basically, and you get a progress every 10,000. So I'll cut this part out just to fast forward it and come back in when the download is or the parquet building is finished. Okay, so the download's just about to finish up. Let me just double check that I have the audio going. So the download is just finishing, and so we already clicked out of the map workspace. If we were still in it, the map would just start being produced right now, but we just have to go back in. And now that we have the PLSS data, the backend will do its work behind the scenes, and we will get our plot showing up mapped. Yeah, and you can interact with the map. You can zoom all the way out and look at the entire world if you want. We're pulling tiles from USGS. Eventually, I'll try to hook up more tiles. I don't have those set up yet. But So you only have one tile option at the moment. Okay, you can scroll around, look at the map if you need, but there's your plot, and I have a couple tools set up so you can like self-verify, but let me just run through there's the map workspace on itself now. So like you saw, this is one entry point into accessing the map workspace is that draw or view button, and then selecting map in this window, and then yeah, you can access it that way. The other way is again on the home screen. There's a mapping card which brings up the mapping workspace. If you access it this way, it's not in that kind of pop-up window, and so you get a more full screen display. And the way to bring up your save plots is this menu item up here, and any schemas that you've already mapped will show up in here, and you can just select whichever one and it'll bring you to it and you can view it. And so let me just run through the various options you have in the map workspace's control panel here. So you have PLSS overlays, township cell, township, range, sections, and subdivisions. And then you can also get the labels for each. With the exception of subdivisions, they are available. They were just so burdensome to actually load. At least on my laptop, it would kind of lag out my laptop a little bit, so I just kind of disabled it, and the visual wasn't very useful anyways. If it is something that's required, I can provide access to turn on labels for the subdivisions. My own personal experience was that it didn't really have utility, so I disabled it just to save the user from the headache of it kind of being just really burdensome on compute. So let's just run through these. Overlay, the township cell just shows the township square cell that your parcel is contained inside of. All of these are container PLSS overlays instead of the entire statewide. I can get the entire statewide enabled if it is a useful feature. Just currently, it only shows the PLSS features that the plot that you are drawing is contained inside of. So township just shows the township horizontal lines that contain the plot, and then range is the same but for the ranges, and you can get the labels for those, and the township cell label will show range and township. Then sections are in green, and you just get the section grid. You can get the labels, and can move the map, interact. The section labels need to snap back, but they'll stay where they need to. And subdivisions, and you'll kind of see. I have not the greatest laptop, so it's a little bit tougher on my computer specifically. If you have a better computer, this might go quicker, but there's the subdivisions. Or the quarter sections. So yeah, that's how to get the PLSS grid overlays. Actually, I'm going to keep the sections on to show you the next feature. Sections probably is the most useful, likely for most people's needs. But so then we also have measurement tools. So this can be useful just if you want to get quick measurement distances between points, and the UI can probably get fixed up decently better for this. But either way, the measurement outputs come out right here. So it's saying I drew a line of 1,802 feet. I can get rid of it, and so you can directly input distances. You can select the start point, how the distance, and then the length. So I'll demonstrate that, and you can use this to verify that the plot that you have is correct based on what the deed shows. So let me just kind of run through that real quick. Let's go back and look at our schema. So the original text says that it is 1,638 feet at 4 degrees west from the west boundary of Section 2, Township 14, number 375 west, blah, blah, blah. So let's go back to the pull up sections again. So it's 1,638 feet, 4 degrees west from this corner, essentially. So we have a snap to PLSS feature. I'm going to go to direct input. We have enable PLSS snapping. So for your first point, you can snap to the nearest PLSS feature. So you just have to get pretty close to whatever feature you want to snap to, and it'll find it. So it found that corner. And I believe it will even tell you section 2 corner. So that's just another way of verifying that it's snapped correctly. But then you can directly input the distance that you need. So 1,638 feet. Direction, it was west, but north will be 176. And create measurement. And you can see it goes to the point of origin. And yeah, so that's just another way of verifying that you're, get rid of that. Mapping was done accurately. And that's pretty much all the features currently implemented in the map workspace itself. There's always things I can build out and do more of, but so far that's what's available. There's one other thing. So yeah, that's mapping. I'll show the alignment consensus stuff because I never showed that. And you may have seen it in one of these, perhaps this one. So this is back in the image to text workspace. I just selected a previous dossier that I had that has an alignment consensus. I never went through what the alignment is. It is a feature that I might end up doing away with in the future, but it is currently available, so I should show what it does in case you want to use it. It'll just be hit or miss whether or not it is of utility to you or not. And so that's why I was hesitant whether or not I should do away with it, but it won't mess anything up. But it just I just thought it might add confusion. Either way, the button exists, so might as well go over it. So this DNA button that you'll see in the results viewer of the image to text workspace is how you run alignment. So you'll have to have a draft selected, and what it will do is try to align all end drafts that you have. And align will make more sense in a second, and then try to produce a consensus off of that alignment. So it's a more algorithmic method of creating a consensus draft, other than just sending it to an LLM and asking it to make a consensus for you, which I actually have so far observed that just sending it to an LLM and asking it to create a consensus for you is more reliable. But regardless, let's go over what alignment does and how it works and how to use it. So it doesn't matter which one you're in, it'll just, whatever draft you have viewed, it doesn't matter, but it'll just, all the drafts of that run, it'll apply alignment to that. So it's this DNA button. You will just click it. It takes a second to run it. This particular one had very good results, but the alignment engine was built on this deed specifically, so it is likely a little bit overfitted to it. In other deeds, I have not had as good results. The reason, the main thing that will cause the results to be superior or worse is how the original transcription got segmented. And so when we send it to the LLM, it segments so this is basically what we get back from the LLM. It's just this JSON tab if you ever want to view it yourself. But the transcription, it breaks up into a JSON where it tries to segment for us likely how the logical kind of structure of that deed or whatever you asked it to transcribe. And so like it might go off of headers or paragraph endings or whatever kind of like writing artifacts delineate between sections within it. It will try to parcel out the deed. And the reason why it does this is for alignment, so that when you run alignment across each draft, so let's go to another draft. Since we already ran alignment, it's showing the sections breaks. The UI slightly changes from just seeing the draft view and the JSON view. That's a little bit of a UI nuance that I guess I haven't noticed. So it doesn't really matter. It's unlikely that you're ever going to be viewing the JSON tab, but I guess that's a little bit of an inconsistency that I haven't spotted before. Either way, what will cause the alignment to not work is if every draft doesn't get segmented the exact same way. And so if that's the case, you can pull up, it tries to place what word appears at every position in the text. And when alignment works well, it's pretty useful because you can just scan through and see where words disagreed or where positions disagreed. So in draft 2 at position 18, instead of it being Richard, which is what the consensus derived, and also draft 3 had Rickard and draft 1 had Richard. So they actually all had something else. The consensus chose Richard. But so there's disagreement at this position, and so it flags it for you. And so it just makes it easier to find where contention is within the various drafts, so to make it quicker to edit. But if the sections aren't all the same, it can get a runaway effect where it all gets misaligned and it becomes not very useful. So it is useful when it works and just not useful when it doesn't. So it's there for you if you want to try it, but if the results aren't very good, then that just kind of is how it is with the current setup. And eventually I have likely a better method of kind of addressing the self-editing kind of a feature where I will probably do away with alignment anyways, and it'll probably be more AI driven. But currently, this is the method currently implemented. Then you can also turn on a heat map, and it'll kind of highlight where those contention spots are. You can hover over it, and it'll show you what like the other draft said. Sometimes it is just a mere difference in formatting, whether or not it was like a space or not. But you can just kind of quickly tell if that's the case just by hovering over it. So this one of the drafts had 2 degrees, and then the other had 4, comma or semicolon. And then if you did want to change it, you can just select it and it makes the edit for you, or you can edit it yourself. And so, yeah, that's the alignment. And then in the dossier manager, you have this new pill called AV1 or AV2. Since I made an edit, the A is basically alignment version 1 or alignment version 2. And so it separates it from the original V1 or V2, just so you know it was derived from the alignment process. And yeah, you can further edit it or select this as the final, and you can do all that like normal too. But so that's alignment. You can use it and try it out. If it doesn't work well, then try it on another deed and it might. And it's kind of a roll of the dice of if that deed transcription, for whatever reason, the AI parceled it consistently across each draft or not. And yeah, there's definitely ways I can make that more consistent. It's just a time priority thing. Whether or not that's the highest and best use of what to update, but there's definitely improvement that you can make along those lines. So either way, that's the rundown of the application so far. I don't think I've missed anything. We went through pretty much the whole thing. That's how to use Plattera, version 0.9.5. I'm going to try to keep updating it. I have a lot of plans to make it even more performative and just insane. I have a good vision of what to do next in terms of making the schemas just way more universal and can handle arbitrary complexity of deeds, but that'll require kind of adding in more AI integration and RAG and stuff. And so it will require a decent amount of building, but I think Plattera can get to a pretty magical, insane state that will feel pretty unreal. And right now it's just kind of the base plumbing is in place to start adding in those features that will bring it from just being cool to insane. But I think right now it can offer utility already, so I'm going to put it out there, try to use it. I have the version 0.95 kind of to indicate that it's still kind of a work in progress. It's not kind of like a beta release type framing, because what it can be is much greater than the current state, but the current state I think can still offer use, so try to use it for what you can. And yeah, it should just be a constantly improving thing. That's how to use it in the walkthrough. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy using it. That's Plattera. All right, thank you. I guess one other thing, if you to update, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you'll just check for an update. If you are up to date, I'll say you are up to date. If there is an update available, there will be a button to download the update, and it'll update for you. So it's pretty easy, and yeah. So I guess I didn't cover that. So just to be thorough, that's how you update when one is available. All right, thank you.